Yo, 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 what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Macro Mondays. I just got back from leave, had leave for 2 weeks. It was a good break. Finish off the first half of the year with a nice holiday. Now we are getting straight back into it with another full half year ahead, guys, and we are going to crush the rest of 2025. Some good trades, of course, but let's start off with Macro Mondays. So Bitcoin over here, I went off on leave 2 weeks ago, around mid-June. That was here, and it basically just went sideways, guys. You can see we just went sideways. We went down a little bit up, but basically just sideways. So, didn't miss out on much. We obviously had that, dump over here, and I did see some altcoins have been bleeding. So we are going to go over altcoins and Bitcoin dominance and everything like we normally do. But Bitcoin just sitting above that very key zone of 105K. 105K is the new 50% level from the recent all-time highs. That was, the 22nd of May, all the way down to that recent low we saw towards last week, Sunday. And that halfway point comes in at 105. And you guys should know by now that when we're in that upper half, we are in the strong half, and we're in the lower half, we are in the weaker half of the range. And we are in the stronger half. We're above the 50-day EMA. We are above all the important EMAs. So Bitcoin is looking bullish, and it looks like we are forming some kind of bull flag over here, guys. You can see nice push up, then a nice looking bull flag over here, waiting for that breakout to get above and surely climb up the stairs over there, guys. You know how it goes. And bullish, guys. Bitcoin is bullish. We are still waiting for a breakout and a retest of all-time highs. There's a lot of liquidity lining up at all-time highs, all-time high region, 109K, a lot of liquidity over there. And if we go to the lower term timeframes, and just zoom out on that one, we can see 109K looks like a level with a lot of liquidity. So we're definitely watching out for that. If we do get a pullback, then we can expect a potential move, into that 95K region, even 85. Lots of liquidity there on high block capital, guys. But that's obviously not everything that we look at. I think, if we are above the 50-day EMA, and if we are above the 50% level, the recent 50% level, there is no real reason for us to see lower prices. But that 200-day EMA is coming in at that 95K, which does line up with that liquidity. So if we do see a terrible pullback, and the bears do look like they are gaining control, then that would be a nice region to get a bounce of, obviously grabbing all the liquidity from there. But for now, it is bullish. It is in a bullish position, of course. We have been bullish since that 82K region over here. We did break out, and then we were confirmed with our bullish stance with the break of structure. And we have just been riding the wave up ever since. And things are looking good for Bitcoin. Let's get into Ethereum quickly. I was stopped out of my long on holiday, obviously, with that little dump. But, if you guys were focusing, we did come perfectly into this key level over here, which, we have outlined this box the whole time. And we said this is a very, very, very high likely level to get tagged, this zone over here, 2,150, 2,200 zone over here. You see we had the high April 23. We broke out, massive move up, almost all-time highs, and we created this huge range. And we did speak about, this was a huge deviation, and we're most likely going to get a retest of that range low over here, which you guys can now see did happen. Pity I was on holiday, because that would have been a great long opportunity. Of course, ETH at 2,200 is an absolute bargain. ETH, currently still fighting with those EMAs. We did think that we would be a little bit higher than this by now. But, let me just move this back to where it's supposed to be quickly. ETH did get rejected at that 50% level, which we did speak about for a while now. We said this is going to be huge resistance, and it has been huge resistance, guys. 2,700, 2,800 region over here, massive resistance for Ethereum. So once we get above this, then it is a throwaway. But for now, it looks like we could grab all the liquidity from the past range, which we created the full of May, the full duration of May. And it looks like once ETH starts to close above these important EMAs, we get that golden cross over here, guys. Once we get above this level, then it is going to be looking good for Ethereum. But for now, it is in a bit of a no trade zone. I think if we can start closing multiple candles above the important EMAs, or if Bitcoin breaks out, then it will give us a long opportunity for Ethereum. Solana had a nice move. I think when was this? On Saturday over the weekend, had a nice move up. Okay, I'm sure you guys can hear me now. Let me know if you can hear me now. Apologies about that. Okay, well, I'm not sure where the volume cut out. I'm not sure if it's maybe been off the whole time. But if you guys can hear me now, we'll just go from where we are now. So Solana, obviously, getting above the 50-day EMA over the course of the weekend. It is having that little 1-2 pump, which is bullish. We do like to see this. If you look at the RSI is holding up. We are now above 50. So that is a good sign for Solana, and this little breakout is longable. I think if we start to get above the 200-day EMA, for Solana and Ethereum, of course, we'll start to look good. We are currently above that for Ethereum. Just want to go over Ethereum very quickly in case the volume was out for that. I'm not sure where the volume was out, but basically Ethereum obviously came into this level over here, which I just outlined as a huge level. So this was most likely a macro retest of the range low. Of course, this being a massive deviation below the range low. So now we are targeting high levels for Ethereum. I would like to see Ethereum get above that major resistance at 2,750. This is a huge resistance, guys. We spoke about this for such a long time. We said this is the 50% level from the highs, all-time highs, not all-time highs, the cycle high of 4,100 zone all the way down to this low over here. We said this is going to be resistance, guys. 2,750. We were met with resistance, and we got rejected from there. We've now tested the range low, and I am expecting this to be a macro higher low. This being a low, push up to the 50% level, come down. This is the higher low. Will we come down and sweep that? I'm not sure. Are we going to kind of hover around the zone over here before making that next mark up phase? We're going to have to wait and see. But this zone over here is most likely going to be a macro higher low. So this is a zone for buying, guys, for sure. I will be buying some more spot Ethereum if we do come down to those levels. But even right now, very good risk to reward in my opinion. Let's have a look at ETH BTC quickly. So this obviously broke out of this downsloping resistance over here. And it looks like we have, whilst I was on holiday, had this recent retest of that. So, we were expecting another retest of this trend line. We have had that. If you did take this ETH BTC long, then, you're still in this trade, of course. From now is even a better risk to reward. But this is looking like a good trade in my opinion. Can we come down lower? Looks like we did grab some of this candles liquidity over here. We did come and test this perfectly as well. So I think, we would like to see ETH BTC get above the 50-day EMA like that, start to consolidate over there for a bit, and then we can retest that and expect higher prices for ETH BTC. Guys, this all lines up perfectly with the Ethereum chart. Of course, once we do get that breakout, it will be looking good for ETH BTC, get above the zone over here, then we can see a big move up for Ethereum. And XRP, let's chat about XRP quickly. We did break out here. It's been oscillating in the zone over here. This was a long zone, coming into this box, which did happen over there. And we were expecting a range low to form in this zone over here. This was, of course, said before I went on leave. We have come down into the zone, which was, this would be a perfect buying opportunity over here. And if we go into the more recent daily candles, it looks like we are attempting some kind of breakout over here. But I would like to see XRP close multiple candles above the 50-day EMA. So the 50-day EMA, huge level for basically all the charts. So getting above this would be a good sign and a potential long opportunity. I am seeing higher prices for XRP, of course. This is looking like some kind of reaccumulation zone for the next leg up, but let's wait and see, guys. Let's wait and see. Bitcoin dominance, haven't looked at this, but this is probably just bullish. Must be bullish. Yeah, recent highs, of course, guys, recent highs again. I'm going to go onto the weekly time frame for Bitcoins because we do like to have a look on the weekly time frame. And we are approaching the key 50% level, the all-time 50% level. That's at that 67%. So we are at that level over here. If you are a Bitcoin maxi, you are obviously smiling, guys. This looks great. Great time to be a Bitcoin maxi, of course. And if I go into the lower term time frames, we just haven't had that, confirmation yet. So I can move this up. I'm still waiting for these lower targets, guys, but they haven't happened yet. But no real sign of this breaking down. I did think that the timing and whatnot. Not back. The timing seems like it should be breaking down at some point, and we do have some kind of retest of this upward sloping support breaking down. Maybe a potential retest, but I'm still looking for this to come down, guys. We are approaching that macro 50% level, so let's wait and see, guys. We still have to have the first sign of weakness. Getting below the 200-day EMA would be a sign. So for now, bulls are obviously in control, Bitcoin bulls, but something like that could happen. And guys, remember that it does happen fast. So if we do speak about Bitcoin dominance falling to the downside, it does happen very fast. It is hard to get into these moves. And the timing does seem right. The timing does seem right for a move potentially soon. We saw the bottom over here, 1,400. And if we get that timing, that 1,400 zone comes, December. If we go November to, end of the year, basically end of this year or start of next year, we are looking for the timing of that to bring the cycle high and the low on Bitcoin dominance, of course, altcoins to outperform. That is what we are looking for. That is the timing. And that's just according to past data, guys. That's all we really look at. Past data is all we really have a look at when trying to predict the future, of course. USDT dominance, have a look at this. So let's go on to the daily time frame over here. We did try breakouts, but we got rejected from there. And we're still following the kind of death cross, which we saw over here. It has attempted to make some kind of bullish market structure. It is in a bullish market structure now, of course. But being stuck below the important EMAs, this is a bit of a red flag for USDT dominance. So if you are a bear or USDT dominance bull, you do want to see this get reclaimed. Otherwise, this is biasing a move to the downside, guys. But only time will tell. We'll have to see what happens over here. But losing these levels does look good. And Bitcoin, coming quite close to a breakout zone over here, it does look pretty good for USDT dominance to fall. So this is the breakout zone that we are looking for Bitcoin. Of course, this downsloping resistance over here. If we can get above this, then we can see higher prices over there. So that's the macros of the crypto market. We can go back into this quickly, guys. The full buy box got filled. I hope you guys did get into this. We spoke about between 3.2 and $3 trillion being huge for total, and this is going to be the ultimate buy zone, of course. So this is still the massive trade that we are looking for, and of course this happening running into the end of this year or the start of next year. So there's still lots of time for this trade to play out. But this is the high probability trade, guys. We spoke about this for months, guys. For March and April, we said, guys, let's reclaim $3 trillion and let's test $3 trillion as support. So, we broke through, and of course, we have now retested $3 trillion as support. So now we do want to see our move, guys, and we are targeting that $5 trillion for the rest of the year. So if you guys are, dedicated to the cause, if you guys are looking to put in the hard yards, I think, it's a great time for that. I think this year, the rest of the year is going to be bullish. I do have a bullish outlook for the rest of the year. And I do think, putting the time and effort in now is going to pay, guys. The risk reward at the moment, you're going to risk some time and you should get rewarded. So this, in my opinion, this has to happen. It's most likely going to happen. And I do see altcoins ripping, guys. So it's getting into those strong altcoins, but let's just see what the year has to offer. You know, if we can look back at this and say, you know, I was wrong on the idea, of course, you know, but it's all about risk management at the end of the day. At the end of the day, I'm always happy to be wrong, but I think this is the most, you know, most likely outcome, guys. This is going to happen. Is the most likely outcome. So let's get into the macros quickly. The dollar playing ball. This is breaking down, and of course, the dollar breaking down gives us all-time highs in the stock market, guys. We have called all-time highs. We said this is a huge, huge V-shaped recovery. Before I went on leave, we said that all-time high is the magnet, and I even drew this thing over here, which, you know, pretty, of course, looking back at it, you know, you can say it, you know, pretty easy. But we did get into some traditional markets. You know, we bought some stocks over here, the top stocks, you know, your Nvidia, your Metas, your Teslas, or whatever you want. You know, basically everything goes up. We said this is most likely a V-shaped recovery. You always see these big red bars like this towards the bottom. Everyone panicking about this, everyone panicking about that. And even with the most recent geopolitical tensions, no one really cares, right? You know, of course, it's unfortunate. War sucks. No one, you know, should be in and clapping along, something like that. But you know, when there is war and a lot of, you know, attention on the media, and you do see the stock market do that, you got to ask yourself, it's probably a nothing burger, guys. It's probably a nothing burger. And you know, this is where the big players are putting their bucks. And you know, if it is moving to the upside and the news is bad, then you got to ask yourself, you know, is the news actually that bad? And you know, according to the charts, no, it's not that bad. So here we go. S&P 500 all-time highs. We've called all-time highs for a while now. So you know, we're happy with all-time highs. NASDAQ, of course, also all-time highs. I'm not sure which one hit first, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's a V-shaped recovery. And what's most likely going to follow suit is Bitcoin, guys. Bitcoin all-time highs. You know, this hit all-time highs before. Of course, it happened 23rd of May. But this is most likely going to break out and reach further all-time highs. Guys, remember that there's nothing bearish about all-time highs. You know, you can't be bearish about all-time highs. You know, you can short all-time highs, but you know, there was this run over here. Let me just show you guys. There's this run over here, right? So here we broke all-time highs, Jan 24. Okay, so this is why you don't short all-time highs, because okay, all-time high, yeah, all-time high. If you went short, you would have got stopped out. If you went short, you're stopped out. Okay, you can't short this. Okay, you short this. Okay, cool, down for like a month or two. Okay, all-time highs again. So this is why you can't short all-time highs. Shorting all-time highs is silly. You know, you can obviously make money by shorting, and of course you can get the confirmation that your short is valid after you break down. Like this would have been a good shorting opportunity. You know, it's always in hindsight, but you know, this upsloping support over here, you break down, bang, you know, you come underneath the EMAs. That's a shorting opportunity. Quick trade over there. But shorting all-time highs is gambling, guys. So in my personal opinion, you shouldn't be shorting all-time highs, because this is most likely just going to continue to the upside, guys. Up just like that. Just like that, guys. Most likely going to happen into the year end, something like that. You know, what is your target? Let me know what your target is for the S&P 500. The cycle, I do think we are coming close to the end of the move, and I am looking at this channel over here, guys. So this is kind of the blow off top that I am looking for, and price targets. So look at price targets. So I would say, what's a good price target? Well, you know, this line over here. You know, top, will it mark the next top? I don't know if it will mark the next top, but this zone over here. So I'm going to go for, you know, Q4, there we go, until Q1 of 2026. So this would be my zone over here, guys. This is where I would be selling. You know, after a V-shaped recovery like that, we're going to see something big. That's what most likely happens. we can have a look at COVID. What happened over here? Well, we got a V-shaped recovery. We broke all-time highs, and then we went on a nice long stretch. Look at that. V-shaped recovery, broke all-time highs, nice long run. Okay, so let's make this a big, thick green line. Okay, so that's the move that we saw. So we saw massive fear in the market, dumped down, we broke the all-time highs, and so we broke it over there, and then we had a nice run up, and then we came into like some bearish price action. So something like this, and it'll probably be bigger than this run, of course, guys. It most likely will be bigger, but you can see something, this is what happens when you break all-time highs. Then you start to create a move, grind to the upside like that. This would take us into October next year, potential price targets of about 7,500, but this will most likely be bigger and better. So, will it be double? I don't know. Will it happen faster? It might. So I can picture a bigger move than this. So this would be the absolute minimum target, in my opinion, this zone over here. I'm not sure when, I'm not sure, can't give you a time or price that's guaranteed, but you can expect after a V-shaped recovery, big pump to the upside. So guys, minimum target, in my opinion, 7,500. We can obviously reevaluate this and see. But I would say a move up into the zone over here, Q1 this year, or Q4 this year, or Q1 next year. I'm going to draw this again. Most likely going to be where I'll be taking profits, guys. This zone over here, we could easily see an 8,000 S&P 500, in my opinion, guys. 8,000, like another 30-odd% pump, 25, 30%. The zone over here, that is on the cards, guys. I would say very much on the cards, but let's wait and see. And of course, if this is happening, what's happening with Bitcoin, guys? Of course, so we obviously had that COVID dump, right? And then Bitcoin went on that stellar run, and altcoins throughout 2021. Remember, and we topped over here. We topped in the zone over here for Bitcoin. November, right over here. Okay, so something similar to happen is likely. So, in my opinion, I do see a grind up for the S&P 500, something like that. Nice grind up. Who knows when and where, as we just spoke about now, but definitely some price action like that. Nice grind to the upside. And then I am expecting Bitcoin and altcoins and crypto to top first. I think it'll top first. And when that tops, sell everything, get out. Of course, that's going to be what happens. But that's just kind of my S&P 500 prediction or outlook, or what I'm looking at for the S&P 500 and for crypto to follow suit. NASDAQ, obviously something very similar. Maybe we even see like a 30K NASDAQ. 30K NASDAQ would be huge for the program, pretty big. But let's see, guys. Gold. We spoke about gold. I said gold most likely topped in this candle over here. Looking back at it now, we came close. We closed some higher candles over there. We are now below the 50-day EMA, and of course, gold pumping with the kind of war news over there. This is probably the top. Must be close to the top, guys. If you guys are expecting a 4,000 gold, I'm not sure. I think S&P 500, NASDAQ has a better chance of pumping 30%. I do not see another 30% gold. So, if you did join this run on gold, congratulations. I personally hold no gold anymore. Okay. Obviously, we had gold in the portfolio, but $3,000 gold is crazy, guys. And something to get quite volatile out here as well. And this is a massive, massive asset class. So people taking profits in gold and sticking it into the S&P 500. That is where you get those big moves to the upside, and that's where we're going to see that 7,000. Something like gold coming into the stock market with the profits from there. That is, how we get that, and all the profits from this goes into something like Bitcoin or altcoins or whatever. We'll have to wait and see, guys. We'll have to wait and see. But that kind of, that brings us to the end of Macro Mondays. Very bullish for the second half of the year, expecting some big gains. I think spot is always king at the moment, guys. Spot, I haven't lost. I went on holiday and didn't lose anything, right? Of course, because we're in spot, didn't get stopped on a match, a couple leverage trades here and there. That's why spot is king, guys. Very volatile, going to expect very volatile end of the year. But let's take it one day at a time and see what comes to us. But guys, thanks for joining the stream, and we'll see you later this week. Cheers for now.